What's happening, team? Liam from Lazarus Personal Training. Today I am talking all things plyometric, all things jump. How do we get the leap better in the international drill? So when it comes to the international drill, it is the primary spot that people learn in wrestling training. If you've done wrestling training, if you're a wrestler, you know pretty much the first spot that you learn is lock up, take a head, off, tackle, hit the ropes, sleep, leap, hip toss. It is a fundamental and often is used as a benchmark to see how experienced someone is. Can they execute that spot correctly and to the best of their ability, or do they struggle with it? It is very much a tick list of can people do things. Also, I am aware that I am talking about this as a predetermined thing because shock horror, wrestling is predetermined, and this channel is aimed at wrestlers, trainee wrestlers, and people that are looking to get better at their sporting output. So yes, I am breaking the fourth wall, and yes, wrestling is predetermined. Oh no. Anyway, back on with the video. Something that people struggle with when it comes to the international is that leap ability. I see it time and time again where we're planning international and someone goes, I'm gonna throw a line instead of doing a leap. Immediately for me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But there is a missing part of your ability there. Everybody across the board should be able to leap safely, because if you are in a ring and someone calls sleep leap, and you need to be able to leap regardless. Obviously, this is a hard thing to do, and this is why I'm filming this video, because it is often a point of contention of how do we do this. I'm gonna walk us through it. Before I get into the meat and potato of this video, or whatever vegetarian option you enjoy, first off, as a question, do you call it a leap or do you call it a vault? For me, it would be sleep leap, but I know people that call it a sleep vault. Leave a comment down below. What do you call it? And then from there, before we get into the actual training stuff, we need to address a couple of points that don't get talked about enough. And this is a conversation that I've had with Sean Only recently, and I completely agree with it. When it comes to jumping, the first point of call is that we need to look at genetic potential. We all know that guy that's coming to training that can just do everything straight away, leaps and he hits the ceiling, he's just doing stuff first time and he's like, yeah, just do it. Well, annoying. And we also see the flip side of that, where someone comes into training with no athletic ability whatsoever. This is the glorious thing about wrestling, is that we take all shapes and sizes, but when it comes down to it, it is an athletic endeavor. And with that, if you have a better genetic potential, it's going to be easier to do a jump. Now, by genetic potential, it's things like, what muscle type fibers do you have? Is it type 1 or type 2? What is your skeletal positioning like? What is your past experience like? If you have grown up in a household where sports and activity ranks high, you're probably going to be able to get into a ring and do a leap. If, however, you're a wrestling fan, and you are a nerdy wrestling fan, and you've probably spent a lot of time sat at the computer talking about wrestling, because that's what we do, that athletic potential might not be there, and it might be harder to do the jump. Another thing that we need to take into consideration is that men and women have different body types and have different experience levels and have different pasts. For the most part, when it comes to men, we are told we're sporty, we're athletic, you go and run, you go and jump. And for women, unfortunately, and that is changing now, but it has been a case of, no, you don't do that, you do girly things. And that's not to say that women can't jump. They can jump. Look at Naomi, she is springy. There are women that are super athletic, far more athletic than I will ever be. But there's a large population that struggle to do jumps because their past has not been as athletic as, say, a male has. So with that, we do need to look at the differences in gender, and I see it in the gym where if I was to give someone a box jump, a man would be more likely to go, yeah, I'll jump on that, no worries. And a woman would be more likely to sit and think about it and second guess if they could jump up onto it. And that is personal anecdotal evidence that I have seen time and time again in the gym. Another thing that we need to take into consideration before we go into the training is our medical history. Things like, have we had broken bones? Do we roll our ankles? All these things play into our jump ability. If you have had a broken bone, that might hinder your power output. Or in a case of, again, another personal anecdote, for Ella had an experience when she was younger where she fell off a horse and the horse stood on her leg. With that, in her leap, she has always struggled to get her left side up over her right side. We sat and we thought about it and we traced it back to that point. With that, there is probably some underlying damage that doesn't cause her any amount of pain, but probably hinders her power output. Also, hi Ella. So we need to think about our medical history. And then finally, we need to think about body weight. If you are overweight, it is going to be harder to leap than if you are of a lower body fat percentage. Now there, I'm not saying walk around at 5%, I wouldn't recommend it, it's proper rubbish. From what I've heard, I've never been down at 5%. But when it comes to it, being at a lower body fat percentage means that we are probably better at these athletic endeavours. So again, imagine if you're walking around carrying 20 kilos in your hand, and I come and hand you an extra 20 kilos. Now we are carrying 40 kilos. Just walking around in general is going to be harder. If you've ever worn a weight vest, you can attest to this. So if we take that weight vest off, if I take that 20 kilo back, if I take the other 20 kilo from your hand, suddenly we are lighter, suddenly it is easier to walk, to run, to jump, all that stuff. So if we are slightly overweight, looking at our nutrition and making sure that we are coming down in body fat percentage is going to be helpful. With all that good stuff out of the way, let's look at the training of how do we get better at a leap. I'm going to look at this as like a tiered system from most impactful or most directly impactful and then working his way down. If we take the pinnacle as being the international drill, the next stage under that is practicing the leap in a wrestling ring. So when it comes to training, like I said, you see it all the time where someone runs an international drill and instead of doing the leap, they throw a clothesline. In training, you should be working on your weaker points. So when it comes to a leap, practice the leap. It is the only way that we are going to get better at doing it. So if it's ever an international drill, do the leap. Tell your coach or trainer, I want to keep doing leaps because I need to get better at them. Before training, get into the ring and do a couple of leaps. After training, get into the ring, do a couple of leaps. Ask people, can you just run this with me just quickly once or twice? We need to do the leap to get better at the leap, just like anything. We need to do the thing to get better at the thing. So, point number one, place to start, do the leaps in wrestling training. Under that, we need to look at plyometric training or jump training in our gym routine. Now, I'm going to pause. I'm going to talk about plyometric training because I see it done wrong all the time. Plyometric training is not the same training as muscle training or cardiovascular training. When we are looking at plyometric, we are looking at the expression of power through the body, through an end range of motion. It is not doing reps and reps and reps and reps and reps of it, because then we are looking at muscle fatigue and cardiovascular fatigue, and that is not going to get us better at leaping up high. Take it this way. Look at Usain Bolt. He runs 100 meters as fast as he can run it. Does he then turn around and run 100 meters as fast as he can run it again? No, because that is not training his central nervous system. That is just fatiguing him. And you can guarantee if he's run that at his utmost, if he's run that in under 10 seconds, he is not running all the way back again under 10 seconds. It is going to fatigue. He's probably going to get injured trying to go at his maximum again. So why in the gym do I see people doing 10, 20, 30, 40 reps of box jumps? The only thing you're going to do is get hurt. When it comes to plyometric training, we want to think quality and not quantity. We need 3 to 5 reps of excellent high quality jumps over 15-20. Now, you are not going to feel fatigued out of this. It is not going to work your muscles. It's not going to get your heart rate and breathing rate up. It will, however, fatigue you in a central nervous system fashion. It will be hard to do. To jump to your utmost potential will be hard. But it is not the same as doing stuff for a muscular fatigue. So, quality over quantity. Also, if we want to get better at jumping, that is our main priority when we go into training. Guess what? That should be the first thing that we do in the gym. Priority number 1 means that we go in fresh and we work on our jump, and then we go into the rest of our session. Now, if we are looking at a leap, it is a vertical jump. So in our plyometric training, we want to think vertical jump. So with that, things like A vertical jump against the wall and trying to reach up as high as you can take it is going to be helpful. Box jumps are going to be helpful because it is a vertical jump. Now, with a box jump, again, another thing that I see, we are not looking at stacking this up as high as possible, jumping up so our feet touch our ears and our ass is still dragging along the floor. For a box jump and any sort of vertical jump, it is about how far your hips travel. So if your hips start here and then we jump up and our hips end here, excellent, that is a vertical jump. If your hips start here and they end here, that is a horizontal jump, and that is not what we are looking to do. So with that, film it from a side, look at it and say, are my hips going high enough? Box jump is a really good vertical jump when done correctly. With that, we can then look into the in-depth nature of a jump. What do we struggle with? Is it the speed or is it the strength that we struggle with? If it's the speed in regards to we can't get off the ground quick enough, things like reactive jumps, depth jumps are going to be really helpful. If it is the strength that we lack, then things like pause jumps or weighted jumps in terms of having light dumbbells in hand are going to be helpful for expressing that strength. We need to put that at the beginning of our training with the most priority on it and think quality, not quantity. And then finally, if we are looking at jumping as an expression of power through an end range of motion, power is speed times strength. So if we increase our strength levels, we will increase our power levels, which means that we get better at jumping. So lower body strength activities such as heavy squats, and heavy is relative to you and your training experience, or heavy deadlifts, heavy is relative to you and your training experience, and doing things like chin-ups and getting strong at chin-ups relative to what you are able to do in the gym and your experience. All these things and all these strength expressions are going to be really helpful to increase our power output. So heavy squats relative to what you do, heavy deadlifts relative to what you do are going to benefit our jump ability with obviously correct form and a good range of motion. Now, to round this out, you may be asking yourself, or you may be thinking, so squats will help me to improve my jump. Liam mentioned that a weighted jump will help me with my jump. So if I combine those two things together and do heavy weighted squat jumps, surely I am going to be jumping through the roof. No, you are not. You are going to get hurt. The reason for this is because for the most part, we do not train the most important part of our jump, and that is the deceleration or the landing. Take this for example. You're a pilot. You learn how to take off. You learn how to fly. But you never learn how to land. Guess what? You're gonna die. The same thing comes with the jump. If we don't learn how to jump, we are not going to be able to execute that properly and correctly. If we overload our jump pattern with more weight than we can handle, guess what? We're going to blow out his knee, we're going to blow out his ankle, we're going to blow out his hip. Please do not do heavy weighted jumps because you will just get hurt. In terms of the relation of speed between this, the speed of a jump and the speed of a squat are at completely different levels. They do not match up, and while strength is going to help us jump higher, it does not mean that we need to be doing heavy jumps because they are at different ends of the spectrum when it comes to the speed, strength, power relationship. Overall, if we are looking at improving our leap, things that we need to take into consideration: what is our genetic potential like? Are we a springy athletic person anyway, or do we really struggle with that? We need to recognize that to know what level we're at. Do we have excess body weight that we need to lose? What is our medical history like? And then when it comes to training, we need to think at wrestling training, am I leaping as often as I can? Then when it comes to gym training, plyometric strength is a priority and needs to go at the beginning of our session, and repeat after me, quality, not quantity. And then finally, strength training, making sure that we are performing good quality, full range of motion, compound lifts at a heavy weight for you and whatever level that you are at. And with that, that is going to improve. And overall, we need to think consistency. This is not something that is going to improve overnight. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's going to take time. It's going to feel like you're not getting any better at it at all because it's not going to happen over a month. It's not going to happen over 2 months. This is going to be 6 months, a year, 2 years, to the point where it feels like, actually, I've not got any better at this. And then you go back and watch a video and you go, wow, I was not getting off of the ground there. Moth. You look at a video and you go, wow, I was not getting off the ground there. And then you watch a video of you recently and then you're like, oh, wow, I am getting off the ground. All thanks to the advice that I took from Liam, from Lazarus Personal Training, who I liked and subscribed to and all that good stuff. Anyway, this has been a long video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. If you are struggling with an element of your leap, get in touch, talk to me about it. I'll help you out as much as I can do. That's all for now. Catch you next time.